Like you've got Kinetic Field, Static Storm, and Disruption calling back, but you don't have the best holds. Dragon Tail and Arrow is it. So you've got to be a bit leery in terms of how long you can keep a single hero pinned down. They kind of fix that with the Mars.
Right.
So you've got some great frontliners here that are really tanky. The DK and Mars, they're going to be able to stave off some of that physical damage coming out here from IG. But IG could just opt for a magic hero coming out now just to burst through these heroes.
That they could. It's going to be a matter of what they want to go down. You know what? One pick that really looks nice for IG right now is probably the Necrophos. Can be a bit challenging into the Disruptor, but you've got a Mars, you've got a DK. Reaper Scythe destroys both those heroes. Seems like an easy pick for the off lane if they wanted to run that Clinks in the mid or safe lane.
Yeah,
Again,
it would
I think
be
the only issue you really have is that Disruptor Static Storm.
pretty much. Beyond that, a lot of value there. I think I would actually prefer a Pugna here, even though that's super
Sure.
squishy, just because disarm is great. You can push with your clinks, and it's still great magic damage, great sustain as well. So if they wanted to, they could go there. You'd really need something else to stand in front though, because you basically have 4 squishy heroes in that lineup if you do pick up the Pugna. But the potency is there. Like you can easily punish even the Disruptor with Nether Ward. Like it's not something a lot of these heroes enjoy. Still, they go to Kunkka instead, which buffs them up, right? We were looking for that frontliner. The Kunkka does give them that. It gives them great team fight coming out here as well. So it's going to be harder for VG to find that burst onto, say, the Clinks if the boat comes out. That's
Yeah.
a lot of value for IG, and I like that pick. I think it really ties into the pace they want to play.
Yeah, I really enjoy this as well. I think IG is going very, very nicely here with this draft. You still need a decent way to deal with the DK Mars, though. Now, the Clinks can do so, especially when you add on the fact that you're going to have the Tusk with Tag Team. So you're going to be hitting even harder than just with those Searing Arrows. Like, max level Tag Team doing 100 damage per hit you make during that Tag Team duration with the Clinks is kind of insane. But we'll see what they do. Whether they want to pick up something else that really just locks down this DK Mars, or whether they just choose to ignore it and figure out a way later with this Clinks. It's really up to them. Vici Gaming, however, seemed to believe that they wanted something like a Dazzle, so they'll remove that. Which is fair enough. Into the Mars. Dazzle's pretty nice. IG. I think it's just the Shallow Grave, right? When you Arena of Blood Spear, trying to kill the Clinks off, but he gets Shallow Graved and just runs away. It's a bit problematic, especially considering the fact that he does also kind of add on to that magic damage that you kind of require. Even though Poison Touch isn't amazing, it's just constant.
Yeah, it is annoying to deal with, and don't really blame them for banning that out. You see IG ban out the troll themselves, just taking care of one of those really hard cores that can just stand in front and do the damage. So pretty respectable ban from IG. Their last pick really will tie this draft up. They go with a
Oh,
spec.
okay.
Huh.
See,
That
that's... I wouldn't imagine that either. So they're running the offlane DK, the offlane Clinks, or perhaps even the offlane Kunkka then.
Yeah, it's not the worst. I think the issue here is timing. Just that you have to stall the game out long enough for the Spectre to be up and running, but there's nothing here that really takes control against the spec. Like you would look to VG maybe picking up the Necrophos we tend to see against the Spectre, but with this kind of lineup, you're putting yourself in a tight timer if you go Necrophos. You have no scalability, especially against a Spectre and a Clinks. Those heroes will just keep going as the game ramps up. So
Well, you've got a
VG, they've got to
question
be,
whether you even have the space for it now, like...
yeah.
Because then you've got Necrophos DK Mars in a lane each. It's just... They might dominate the lane, but... No, they'll go for the Earth, so that's another way to deal with the Spectre. It's not the most amazing way, but it's probably the safest way in this current meta.
Yeah, it comes online a lot faster. We'll see just how exactly VG itemizes, whether or not our Ursa will be forced for an early Morbid Mask into the jungle, or if he's given the space to find a Battle Fury. It's much more pertinent for IG to protect Fly in this game. They cannot allow Fly to even have a bad lane. So it's down to them to maintain that presence, try to keep the aggression elsewhere, give Fly the space to farm into the Radiance, into the Manta and Heart, and build off from there. Beyond that, I think this lineup can handle the other heroes. In fact, the biggest worry is just leaving Fly isolated. So they have to maintain good vision here, just ensure that Fly should be given that space. VG, they've got to make use of this early aggression they have. They can't allow Fly to farm up. They have to be a bit careful about trading unfavorably because Kaka will build up. But they do have relatively fast heroes here. They don't need too much farm on Ori. You don't need too much farm on Yang. They can just start fighting once you hit 6.
See how it all pans out. IG, they're one win away from just winning this 2-0. Vici Gaming, of course, don't want to allow that to happen. They want to try and get at least a 2-1 victory if they can afford to. And we'll see after this game if they can make it work. So we'll get into it. Game number 2.
That's more like it.
I get really scared for DY and his Disruptor in this game up against the Clinks as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
I mean, we saw this in the first series, but just the poor Disruptor has no chance of surviving if Kaka wants to kill him. It's just impossible.
Oh, it really is. It's going to be a hard game for him, but that is a bit of an issue for VG because, they really need that Disruptor to be able to hit 6 right around the time you see the Mars 6. You want the Arena Static Storm to be in play, and if DY falls a bit too far behind, that can be tricky to get up and running. So, got to be a bit careful with how much you want to sacrifice DY, but let's see just how much you can maintain here. It's a bit better of a draft from VG, but there are some issues that they have to be aware of.
I think Eurus will just go Battle Fury this game, like the standard Ursa build we've been seeing a lot. Like, he shouldn't really go down the early Sergeant Yashin to maybe a Basher route this time, right? Like, you'd rather just not necessarily play the farm game, but you definitely want to be farmed.
Yeah, you don't want to lose out too much space to the spec. I think the Ursa can keep up when it comes down to it, just because Ursa is one of those heroes that does punish tanky heroes because of Fury swipes. So, late game, you're not completely out. But you do have to maintain that net for it. So, I look to him to try to secure that Battle Fury Rush, which means Eurus can't afford falling behind either. So, both pause once need that pretty good initial farm to get going.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 for 2 trade on the bounties, pretty standard stuff. Neither side really engaging too much in these earlier times. Did see PYW at least getting a bit of harass out onto Fly, but he'll regen most of that up passively. No big deal. They'll continue to just fight over this dire outpost though, I've got to say. IG unwilling to let that go to the way of the Radiant so far, and I mean that's fair as well because you've got this Mirana you're up against, right? So you don't necessarily want to allow the outpost to be taken. Otherwise, it just gives kind of a free path for that Mirana to rotate mid and try to make something happen there.
Yeah, it's a bit risky when you have that early rotation potential. Still, I think this dual lane from VG is going to be tricky to really maximize. Ollie can trade fairly well on that Venge, kind of holds out on his level 1 as well. Does opt for the wave, so can even amp up that right click just a bit more, which makes it tricky for PYW to try to hit there.
You say that though, Ollie's copping a lot of harass here. You're going to appreciate the Blightstone he bought at that level 1 mark on that Mirana. It's really kind of making all the difference here up against that Venge. If she's going to have some minus armor, I may as well too.
It's one way to even that out, and
bot lane. Kaka ends up going down there on the Clinks. Of course, he was on level 1, so he had no way out of that situation. JT unable to help at level 1 as well in the task, and well, Eurus claiming the first kill of the game.
It's a fantastic start for VG. Just giving the Ursa a good start. Again, that timing, that early build-up into the Battle Fury going to be key to maintain that parity with the spec. And speaking of that spec, Fly.
Uh-oh. Fly's in trouble now as well. Yang chasing him down. He'll have a spear up in a second, and he'll just pop a mango for this. But does he get the spear off? The Spectral Dagger is there, but he connects the spear, and that'll be enough for Vici Gaming to get their second kill of the game.
Yeah, that's not what you want here if you're IG. You can stand losing your Clinks, but sacrificing your Spectre like this means that the initial farm's going to be harder. You're seeing Yang get a little bit more EXP in his top lane, and once you hit level 3 into Mars, it becomes harder to contest.
Kaka, he's in trouble. They got the Disruptor kill, but Kaka still has no way out of this situation. He will go down, and Eurus is really abusing the fact that he has no escape on this Clinks yet. You're not going to care if you lost that Disruptor. He could die 10 times. As long as you're killing off the Clinks 10 times as well, you're more than happy.
Oh, definitely are. And man, Eurus is just going. JT pops a lot, but he's going to be fine. And our Ursa just slowly building up. You even see DY shoving mangoes up Eurus. So Eurus is just constantly staying fully topped up and ready to go.
What a way to say it, John. You have a way with words, sir.
I didn't even realize until I said it.
I'm aware. I'm
My
aware.
bad.
Fly's still struggling up that top lane. He only has 9 last hits right now on that Spectre. PYW's really been on his back as well, just harassing him constantly. There's really just nothing Ollie seems to be able to do about it. He's just being outranged by this Mirana, and even when he gets close, you've always got to be afraid of that arrow potential. Though bot lane, Eurus now ends up dying on the Ursa. They kind of just turn it around.
Yeah, that's what you really want here from IG. Just punish that Ursa. You're not going to be too upset if you're Eurus, right? You get to go back, you reset, you come back in, and you're still top of net worth by a huge margin, at least in terms of last hits. So, still a great start. One death, not quite enough to dissuade Eurus from playing aggressive, and it'd still be fine on the Ursa.
Emo in trouble here. Arrow flying through. PYW, of course, connecting and now has a double damage rune active. Emo really should have no way out of the situation. Magic Missile out to Ori, but he's not the problem. PYW is, and although you get the trade, you're not going to be too happy about losing that Kunkka. However, down at the bot lane, Eurus dies again.
Yeah, now that is not good. Second death in a row does kind of mitigate that early start Eurus got, and he has to walk back to lane because he TP'd in a while though.
Oh no.
So he's losing out in a wave, he's losing out in EXP. Kaka does get a little bit more for his effort and should be better off there, although they do drag down PYW, so it's a tri-lane now down bot.
I think you need it though, because you've got this this level 2 tag team as well as a Shard Snowball, and well, with that rotation from PYW, you're going to be able to set up another kill now to Kaka. So it's definitely worth just running this trial lane as long as you need to. It's not like Eurus needs the levels, he just needs farm. You're better off just securing that, though. PYW is actually starting to rotate back towards that mid lane. He wants to try and make sure Ori's having good time as well on that DK. PYW, can you land an arrow? Well, with a Dragon Tail, you certainly can. Whether they have enough damage, however, is a completely different story, as X going to come out now from Emo. Dragon form has been popped. Torrent is there from the Kunkka, but they're not going to be able to follow up. And Emo has found himself one level behind now.
Yeah, it's still looking pretty darn good for VG despite the failure of that rotation. Ori does have a way better time here in game number 2 than he did in game 1. Well, no, he had a great time in game 1, but it's a bit more even here, and you can see Emo struggling, even though this matchup isn't too bad for the Kunkka.
Ollie? I believe Ollie thought he was dead, so he kind of went AFK for a second. DY, gonna get ganked up now, and he will die. Now off to the mid, rather bot lane, JT. Still trying to deal with this Ursa on that Tusk, but he's got help coming in. Eurus is going to try and turn around now on this core Tusk, and he does get the kill. Eurus. He'll be okay. Arrow, however, no, won't connect on Ollie either. Now PYW comes in, and well, it won't matter. Ollie should die regardless, and now Kaka as well might even go down. Yeah, he got dusted up. He gets glimpsed back. And excuse me, it wasn't even the dust, it was just a sentry ward that was on the ground there. It's just, once again, Vici Gaming with this support combination really making things happen.
Yeah, they're slowly but surely ensuring bot lane is completely won out for Eurus, so Ursa's off to a pretty fantastic start. You can't quite say the same thing for Fly up top. Like Fly is, you know, he's still finding last hits, but it's most certainly lagging behind that Mars, so for Spectre's timing going to be knocked back a bit. Is going for the Necronomicon build just to secure farm, although down mid, PYW.
Yeah, PYW is going to be in a heap of trouble. Does try to get the arrow off onto Emo, instead connects onto Ollie. Does end up going down. Emo back into the mid lane. He's just going to ensure that Ori can't freely push down this tier 1 tower. It's quite a hard game for this Kunkka thus far as well, right? Because you can't leave the lane because that tier 1's going down, but at the same time, you need to help out your team here. IG, they're going to be forced to run a tri-lane from their side of things to try and maintain this bottom lane. Go after Eurus on that Ursa. Kaka trying to scout out where DY is. Meanwhile, top lane Yang does end up getting Fly on the Spectre. And they haven't made that initiation onto Eurus. He's just fine.
Yeah, this is not quite the way IG would want to trade. They're really sacrificing your Spectre here. They're not too far behind. We're talking about a 1k deficit, sub 10 minutes. But this is a really good start for VG. They're applying pressure on that top tier 1. With DK, of course, towers can melt fairly quick. The Dragon form does expire, but they're not going to be backing off from this objective.
No, they're just trading now with IG. Like, IG have brought 4 heroes down to the bot lane. The best they're going to get here is maybe DY, and they don't even get that. The torrent doesn't connect. And, well, they might have to start focusing on that tier 1 tower, because it's really taken no damage. At least JT there on the core task will have the Necro 1 book up, so he can start slowly forcing this in. But Vici Gaming is certainly finding more of this map. Like, they haven't got a crazy net worth lead yet on this Radiant side, but it is definitely substantial enough considering all 3 of their cores are top of the net worth board.
The biggest issue here for IG is just how far behind Fly is. He is severely behind, even behind Emo right now, who also had a pretty hard time down mid. The bottom net worth core right now in the entire game.
Finding Kaka, this Clinks. Not really panning out thus far for the side of IG. Vici Gaming now getting that Clinks kill, feel confident enough to go into that mid tier 1 tower with this DK again. In fact, they even played a double damage rune for PYW.
Ooh, that's one of the issues with this kind of draft. VG is finding a lot more objectives at a much better pace than even what they had in game 1 with Lycan, so much more stable for them. The areas where you have to farm here for IG is shrinking. You need to try to retake control back. They do smoke up with JT, Ollie, and Kaka. They want to try to make play.
They haven't had too much luck yet. PYW could be an easy target for them. But you still have this problem of how do I lock someone down? Well, with Yang, you're not going to have that problem. He has no escape. So they'll snowball in, Spectral Dagger out as well. They don't get the stun, but they get the shards off, and that'll be enough to ensure Yang just ends up dying. Well, now the rest of Vici are making their way up top, and they do get the dust off onto Kaka again. He drops the Skeleton Army, now a swap back and the stun onto Eurus, but he's still making the chase. Another swap out from Ollie, but now the Static Storm is there from DY. However, DY got a little bit too excited, does end up dying, and now Eurus, he does not want to be here anymore. Snowball goes out, tag team activated. Eurus, can you make your way out? Probably not.
Yeah, it's
maybe a little too overly confident.
Very, more than a little, I think, is the way to put it. Just losing Eurus like that in the top lane, you know, Mike, that's kind of reminiscent of game 1. You have to be careful about how much you bleed out with this Ursa. You can see Eurus is actually going for the same build. Going for the Morbid Mask into the Yasha, probably into the Sanjin Yasha afterwards. So He's not looking to stall this game out. He wants to play fast, which is understandable. Maybe you just don't want to take that risk against the Spectre. This means that if IG do stall out, there's a chance for Fly to just completely take over in terms of net worth.
Radiant are scanning.
Kakai spotted out DY and Yang. Don't know if he saw the Invis rune there, but he'll make his way back towards his own jungle. Fly is just so poor in terms of net worth. He's just sitting at 4k right now, trying to farm the Radiant side jungle, but it's not safe. They have so many wards around that area. Or rather, just vision. And now Yang, the sentry ward there from the Dire, gonna save the Spectre's life. He's gonna make his way back up to the triangle. Not really much farm to be had right now. Zemo has cleared it out there with JT. I suppose the more time you buy, the better for the side of IG. And well, Vici Gaming, they're just going to give a bit more time over to Eurus to get some core items up here on that Ursa. You have the Asher up soon, and I don't necessarily mind the build, right? The Sergeant Yasha into the Basher. I'm just kind of questioning whether it's going to be an up against the Spectre. Nevertheless, they've smoked up. They're going to run up top. That's a big kill there onto Fly again. Just keep shutting the Spectre down. But Fly seems to realize something is awry. And well, now the tier 1 tower does kind of reveal that as well. So they're not going to be able to get him. The Spectre is just okay.
It's slowing down Fly's farm. You can't really go anywhere to find that farm now, but you don't find a kill, so you're really not quite punishing that Spec. This is giving IG a chance to farm up in their other cores. You see JT shoving in bot by himself and a little bit of action down mid.
Yeah, boat flying out. Arena didn't really land though. Now JT going to come in with the shards. Ori is trying to fight back, but they're going straight after Yang though. A great static storm out from that Disruptor. Can they kill him off though? Nobody's dead yet on the side of IG. Now Ori's still falling very, very low. The Eurus rushing forward, trying to get Kaka. Ori's still just armlet toggling right now on that DK. They can't kill him off in time. Another armlet toggle through the torrent and he still survives through it. They don't have the damage. Ori's still getting out of there. They're just going to completely team wipe the side of IG and Ori does not die.
Oh boy.
That is disgusting, Ori. How dare you?
Oh, that's going to be a massive issue for IG as these fights break out. They don't have anyone building into a Spirit Vessel. Neither JT nor Cock are really saving up for that. In fact, both of them are saving up for Desolators. So, probably keen on having at least one hero with that, just to mitigate that toggling Ori can get done, just to punish that. But while that's not up, our DK is going to be alive for so much longer than you'd expect. And next item on the list for Ori is that BKB. Once you have that, I mean, your physical damage is not at the point where it's going to be ready. You're not going to have control. It's going to be very hard to contest that DK in a fight.
Well, IG back to the drawing board for them. Vici Gaming back in the driver's seat. Straight back to that Roshan pit it is. We are at that 15.5 minute mark now, and Eurus just says, let's just take the Aegis and keep snowballing. They're going to find it for free. IG, whether they know it or not, just can't really contest, and well, now they scan it out. It's going to be way too late, though. You didn't even have the Haunt there on Fly if you wanted to try and go for it still. And, oh, they found him out. They have a Tinker Ward on that cliff. Fly, there is no escaping this situation. Static Storm with the kinetic field. He tries to run, but the Dragon Tail going to be there with the follow-up arrow out from PYW. Vici Gaming starting to look really strong this game. Going to keep going after that top tier 2 tower.
Yeah, they're really starting to shut out that map. They've even got the blink up and running on Yang, so he can just jump in, lock a target out, and really just find a pick-off. So IG, they still need to stall this game out for a lot longer. They're still having farming issues on Fly. Is still bottom in terms of all the cores on the map by a severe amount. So there's a lot of catch-up left for IG to play. They're going to try to trade down bot instead. And it's not as fast, but they can get some damage out here.
Dire's top tower.
I mean, it's still going to be an even trade regardless. Oh, maybe not. TP's mid. Who's got caught? It is the
Oh,
Spectre.
no.
Fly. Getting caught out there by Yang. X is there. Boat as well flying in, but Yang is going to die. Can they find any more? Emo making the chase, but everyone's moonlighted right now by that Mirana.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
With the invis, they're just not going to be able to catch anyone else out, and that is just definitely not a great trade to make. This Spectre is still at 5.5k net worth.
Radiant's middle
This
tower
is just...
under attack.
I mean, he's got an Alacrity Blade after that Necro book. That's literally all he's gotten so far.
Yeah, it's been no progress at all for Fly. They might be able to find PYW at least.
It gets to the point now where you kind of ask yourself, like, does everyone else kind of just have to do the heavy lifting? This Spectre's going to take so much more time. IG, they're going to have to keep trying to buy space, but you look up top lane, look who they're chasing
Oh,
right
fuck.
now. Dragon Tail out, at least the kinetic field didn't hold him in, but Fly's still taking so much damage. DY has the glimpse as well. He'll just have to haunt. He gets glimpse back immediately though, keeps haunting in, but now Eurus
Oh,
is here. And they haven't gotten the tier 2 bot tower. And now the TPs are here. Oh no, Vici Gaming, they're dancing around them.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Oh, you've got to make a decision. You push bot or you all TP top. You can't half it.
Whew. Yeah, it's really messy here from IG. VG, they're cleaning up well. Really starting to apply that advantage they have. They turned it into a 3k lead now, so finally breaking out of that deadlock, and they can force for more. Eurus is right out front, has his SNY. Isn't scared of anything on Ursa.
He's ready to go now. I mean, you're top of the net worth board, and you're literally almost double the net worth of the other position one. Vici Gaming, they have found their groove here. This is game number 2. Emo, gonna go for an X onto the Mars. Torrent, nice dodge out with the blink, and they're definitely willing to turn here, Vici Gaming. They're just trying to bait with Eurus. IG seem to be aware that something is going wrong here. I'm just gonna head back to that high ground and just maintain a defensive stance. For Vici Gaming, I believe they're trying to push mid. In fact, no, never mind. Ori's down bottom the DK, so he's telling his team, let's go, let's push this bot tier 1 tower. And considering the circumstances, you could easily go for that bot tier 2 as well.
Yeah, it's, there's nothing to stop VG right now in terms of these fights. IG, they're trying to clump up around that top triangle area, give themselves some room to farm. You've still got massive issues in terms of map control, though. Like, you remember that Tinker Ward a while ago? They dropped the sentry
Oh,
in the wrong
no.
spot. Look at that.
But it's still
uh,
within range, is it not? You
It
just
is.
can't see
It's
it.
just, yeah, they didn't have vision. So that's going to be a bit of a problem. There you go. You've got the courier spotting it out.
Well, somebody's going to get there and take care of it, though.
Dire's
It's,
bottom
you know, it's got
tower
about
is
a
under
minute or
attack.
2 left. Someone's going to need to go get there, but bot lane's being pushed in, John. Like, the ward's nice and all, but you're losing towers right now.
Yeah, that's not the trade that you're looking here for IG, and that leaves one outer tower left for IG. Yeah, they've lost a lot of control on the map. VG's been a lot more disciplined about grouping up, about their tempo. They've got some nice deep wards as well on the jungle side, so it's not that safe for IG to just farm around. They do waste enough time that the Aegis expires on Eurus. Doesn't feel like he needs it. He's not been threatened at all past the laning phase, and there's a bit of a pop-in of damage here for IG as they do have the Desolator on JT. Maybe that will give them some pickoffs.
They're also going for a secondary Desolator there onto the Clinks. But I suppose since you're going for single target for both those heroes, you don't really need to just have one Deso. I think both Desos are just fine. So Kaka gonna rotate in through the mid lane, trying to scout out for his team. Still a tier 1 standing. Moonlight Shadow was also popped there from PYW, and They're going to avoid the gank attempts coming out from Vici Gaming, but Vici will do the same thing up against IG.
This is a bit costly for IG. Again, they want to reveal that Desolator on JT, but they don't really find a way to get that done. So
I mean,
they're
you look
just
at
kind of-
Firefly, John. He's just... well, he doesn't know where to farm. That's the thing. Like, he's literally got 0 areas to farm in right now. They can definitely go back to the triangle if Kaka doesn't start farming it. Alright, never mind. That might be gone as well. He's just gonna... like, what can Firefly do as a spec to this game? He's got a diffusal up now, sure, but... they're just gonna keep trying to buy him time.
Yeah, that's the best you could hope for still.
Snowball, BKB popped by Ori, he's ready for it. They give him the Warrior's Punch. Doesn't matter. No, not with that Static Storm, it doesn't. This task may be dead. JT, Ori needed one more auto attack, didn't get it off. Just kind of backed off. But Yang, he does not secure the kill. The spear wasn't enough. He'll make a TP out. Yang, can you God's Rebuke? He can't. It was on cooldown. Okay, well that's still a 1 for 0, I guess, for Vici Gaming. It's just the pause 5, but it does somewhat set them up for this tier 2 mid tower.
Yeah, they're going to be able to take that quick. They do have the dragon form. I mean, you look at IG, they go back bot, but that tower's been alive for so long. They've been trying to trade for so long to no avail. It's
Yules,
tough.
Arrow, going to be there from PYW. They have the X there from Emo, but now an Arena is out. Emo will pop the BKB, just desperate to try and get this kill. PYW will die. And looks like they will just TP Emo out with that BKB.
Yeah, it's not the best pick-off for that usage, but you'll take what you can get here from IG's side. They are still keeping it fairly close. We're talking about just a 2k deficit in favor of VG, so you're not bleeding out as much as you'd expect here for IG. Like, there are still ways to play around this, but it's getting a bit tough. You're seeing BKBs out from VG themselves. They've got it on Ori. They've got it on Eurus. So the control you're looking for in these fights, it's fading away. And you're still not strong enough with a physical damage that you'd be confident in taking these fights. So it's just more farming for IG. More farming for Fly, for JT, for Kaka. And I guess in that sense, you know, keeping it at 1k deficit with how much you've lost in the map, that's not too bad for IG, if you try to look at it optimistically. They really are out of the driver's seat, though.
Thing is, it's still giving time to Fly. However, there is a smoke now from the side of Vici Gaming. Moonlight Shadow popped. Fly, he seems to realize something is going wrong again. And looks like he is going to remain safe. They've actually swung the other way now, Vici Gaming, trying to go back into that dire jungle on the west side of the map. And well, they're going to run into Ollie, perhaps. Maybe even Kaka. He'll break the smoke. There'll be a dust down from Eurus, but a nice swap out.
Ooh.
Now the torrent coming in. They could actually burst down this Ursa if he's not too careful. Eurus forced to enrage. There's the Arena coming out as well. Emo getting the X off onto Yang. DY did also die on the Disruptor. Now Ori still going, but a great torrent again from Emo. Now the boat flying in, and Ori, he's forced to BKB, but he's taking a lot of damage from that skeleton army, though. Fly ends up dying on the Spectre. JT now in, does secure the kill on that Murano, and Ori does also die. Still a great trade. In fact, they might find the dieback there onto DY if he's not too careful.
A gift from the tempest of battle.
So he'll be fine as they want the Roshan attempt. Bit of a shame for IG, though. You've got to admit that Fly died in all this. But, beggars can't be choosers, though. A great Static Storm comes out from DY now. Problem is, you don't really have the follow-up, though. Another nice arrow
JT.
connecting with the Thunder Strike. It's not going to be enough. They need a couple more hits. He'll snowball JT. Can you survive? He doesn't have the Aegis. He just eats the cheese, and that's how he makes his way out of this one. Shards will not be enough to lock PYW in. Another nice arrow onto the Tusk. Magic Missile out onto Eurus. He'll try to go onto Emo. However, glimpse back on the Kunkka. Really trying to secure Emo right now, but no, Eurus, he dies first. Now Ollie goes down to Yang. He'll try and turn around to this Kunkka. Emo, he's still alive. Do they not have a God's Rebuke? They don't. They would at least get the Aegis, though. But this may have cost Yang's life. His torrent is also going to connect. JT killed off DY,
What?
and now Yang goes down.
What?
Vici
mean-
Gaming needs to calm down a little bit. They just keep rushing in.
What's happening? This is like game one. They had a lead in game one that disappeared. They had the lead here in game two that's completely gone now. It's 5K for IG off a set of disjointed fights.
It's been some
And-
weird fights, that's for sure.
They've
They've been very, very split.
And with that, I mean, IG, they get a 5K lead for themselves. You're looking at the Spectre, who finds a Paladin Sword, mind you.
Of course she does.
Send it home for the Mindbreaker, and is very close to Manta style after, you know, basically dying way too much, way much more than a Spectre should. You're at the point, 27 minutes in, reaching the 30-minute mark, where the Spectre will, regardless of how you reach that point, is going to be a menace. It has level 18, you hit the level 20 talent, and then suddenly, you're just that much harder to kill off. VG, messing up those fights has costed him. Like, that's such a massive swing for IG.
Bottom tower has fallen.
Oh, Flyfly, you can tell he feels a lot more confident now in that Spectre as well. Like, just the moves he's making now, he just feels much more protected. You saw JT that team fight as well. He's hitting like an absolute truck now with that Walrus Punch Deso. And he even has the Fairy Fires there as well, the greater Fairy Fire to add on to that damage. So he's really the one dishing out the damage there. Of course with Kaka as well on the Clinks, who also has the Deso.
Yeah, it's starting to pay off from that double
This is all
desert
with-
build.
It's really all without Flyfly though. That's the worst part here for Vici. Like Flyfly is haunting in, but his damage really isn't there. He's just kind of a distraction.
Yeah, and it's working for IG. They've been so focused on just shutting down Flyfly's game that they've allowed everyone else to just farm up, and that is
Ollie?
going to be an issue. Ooh.
Trying to take the outpost back prior to that 30-minute mark. He won't quite get away with that. Does force the TP rotations from Yang. Eurus is there as well, but now Emo, he's thinking about going.
Scanning.
They'll scan out DY, or rather just spot out DY. Now the Horn's there. DY, he drops the Static Storm Kinetic Field, but they will swap out Kaka. Ollie will die as well. Yang, trying to deal with this Clinks, does get a very nice spear into that arena and just rushes for the God's Rebuke. Does connect it, but now the boat's flying in. They do kill off Yang and Vici. They are on the retreat. A great shard's out. Ori, he has no choice but to man up and fight. They do go straight after Flyfly. The Spectre is dying, but now a Torrent comes in. Ori gets punched to death. And now Eurus dies as well. And Shards, on point. Snowball will not make it. No, the X. Oh, the X from Emo. JT giving the vision there on the task.
Oh, man.
Oh boy.
Oh,
What's
you know,
happened in
you know
this
how
game?
IG's winning? You know how IG's winning? Because Ollie keeps swapping them out. Every time out of the Static Storm, just one core out. Or even just Kaka out. That's enough. They stay around, they do the damage. If you don't catch that Venge in the Static Storm, you're asking for trouble. And VG, they've been forced in awkward fights that it's bleeding away, Mike. It's 12K now for IG. They were so far behind that
Is under attack.
they're so far ahead now. I mean, this entire game was just like a 1K swing still. But now it's just all the way to IG. They're taking these objectives fast. They've got the damage. VG, they've lost their momentum again.
Middle tower.
They really have. You know, we haven't really talked about it either, but Emo's been doing great. In fact, he catches out Yang. Yang drops the arena, but you've got a Torrent Storm up there from Emo. He's got the Ags up. The Walrus Punch comes in, and suddenly, Yang is dead. He has buyback. They'll glimpse back JT. X from Emo, though, real quick. That's just showing off now, Emo. Take it easy, man. None of that.
Yeah, it's
Arrow flying through, just scouting out the side of IG, but they feel confident. IG just knows we have this map. Like, this map is ours now. And while they're standing in that mid lane, you look at Flyfly, he's freely farming.
yeah, he's got the level 20 talent. So there you go, plus 400 HP. Our Spectre's a lot tankier. Gonna be living true, pumping out that dispersion damage because everyone loves to hit the Spectre. And IG is just building up. You look at their items now. JT is saving up for the AC. On the Tusk, he's almost there. He's got the Hyperstone up first. He can hit hard.
Oh, Shards and Walrus Punch and Haunt in. They're all going onto Ori. They haunt in the end. Ori, he never backed off. He thought they weren't coming. BKBs to be popped. Eurus straight onto JT. That Torrent Storm, though, it's just such a chaotic team fight again from IG. The Torrent's connecting on Ori as well to make matters worse. The poor guy will die. Static Storm is there with the kinetic field, but that's only holding them in. They can't capitalize off that. Now with the X back onto Eurus, he gets snowballed up. Walrus Punch as well. He dies, and now IG... It's looking really tough for Vici Gaming to pull this one back now, John, I gotta say.
No.
It's looking kind of impossible.
I'd wager it is. We're at the point where, because you didn't go Battle Fury, you can't keep up with the farm Fly has. You're finally seeing Fly pull away. He's above Eurus's farm, and it's really not been about the pause ones in this game. But Fly and Eurus have just struggled, and there you go. They picked it. What?
Well, they didn't have the buybacks on the Ursa, nor did they have it on Ori, so they lost one Rax, and I suppose they kind of got the point that they were 20k behind up against the draft of IG. It's just, I mean, you saw the last team fight. Like, he just emo pops Torrent Storm, and suddenly it's like you've got these BKBs that are getting shorter and shorter in duration every time you use them. Now imagine you don't have a BKB, and I pop this Torrent Storm, and my whole team's on top of you, just hitting you over and over again. Like, it's just, I don't know. Well, that was the last game, by the way, John. It has been a damn fast day.
Yeah, that's a rather atypical, but it was really strong showing from IG. VG, there were just some moments there, man. Like, you could point to the time when they started dying up top, and in fact, that fight before the Roche, that's when it turned. Because before that, it was always a 1k, 2k, maybe 3k at most lead for VG. But after that fight by the Dire Jungle right before the Roche pit, that's when it swung 4k all the way to IG, just like that. And it's just so similar to game one, where it was just one bad fight that really swung it away from VG, and they just end up tapping in the same way. High ground push on the top lane, they just tap out.
You just look at that the graph after the game as well, like the win probability. It was sitting so pretty for Vici Gaming, and it really was after that last team fight at the Roshan pit. It just plummets against Vici Gaming. And well, John, that's it for us today, I guess. We had 2 series on today. I was kind of prepared to be ready to cast for quite a few hours, but it's only 8 p.m. It's all right.
It's quick. It's a quick day.
Well, with that, we won't be back tomorrow. We'll be back the day after. I believe it should be Basket back tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure who it is, but somebody else is casting tomorrow. We'll see you guys on the 24th, though, and thereon after. It is MLP Dota. It's JohnXFire. It's been a pleasure. And, well, we'll see you again in 2 days.